There's a lot of people who would tell you there's no other way to go but to make your own pie crust. Well, I'm not very good at it. And I find that a store-bought pie crust, and I've bought many brands, they all work very, very well. And why waste the time? So I have a store-bought pie crust, and I'm going to use that today for my apple walnut pie. This recipe is very easy. I like to think of it in the European tradition in that it is not overly sweet. The apple really comes through. It has hints of cinnamon and nutmeg, and it is delicious. All right, we're going to start by prepping our apples. I used Fiji apples for this. And one of my favorite kitchen tools, if you're going to do a lot of apple baking, I think these are indispensable. It's wedged and got the core and makes easy work of the process. You just push it down and through and punch it out. Throw the core away and you're ready to go. Nearly every recipe you encounter, particularly a pie for apples, would tell you to peel them. It's a personal thing. I love them on it. So much of the nutrition in an apple is in the peel. And so it's always been my habit to leave it on. But I do find that these can be a little bit on the thick side, so I will cut them down once again, like so. Just making slightly smaller, thinner wedges of the apple. And then we're going to make the filling. And the filling is a combination of brown sugar, butter, of course, walnuts that have been lightly toasted, and just a little bit of flour, healthy amounts of cinnamon and nutmeg, and we're going to build it into the pie shell in layers and then ultimately top it with another crust. And when I do this, and I just do a basic, I just lay them in relatively tight to each other. I don't become real worried about whether they're evenly spaced. Just line them in like so. And this usually takes 2 good healthy apples, good sized apples, sometimes 3 depending on the size. And heck, I've even got a couple to spare, and I am just going to kind of tuck them in there. And now we're going to make our filling. The filling starts with one of my favorite ingredients, of course, butter. I've got here 1/2 cup or a whole stick of butter. We're going to cream into that 1 cup of sugar, brown sugar. And again, you always want your butter room temperature, softened. Makes it so much easier to work with. Cuts down on the time. And I find overall, I love the smell. It almost picks up a vanilla-like smell, the butter and the brown sugar together. I think one of the best parts of cooking is the aromas that come off what you're doing. The nose is a good indicator, I think, when things are going just right. All right, we've got that cream together, and we're going to add into this our walnuts. The walnuts I've pre-toasted and ground them down, good medium. Some good chunks are still left, but there's almost a bit of a flour to it as well. I'm going to add 1 cup of that. And just a little bit more. Probably another 1/4 cup. Get that mixed in. And it's going to start to form a very chunky, coarse paste. Alright, and to that we're going to add just a little bit of flour, and the flour serves as a binder. And we're just going to add 1/3 cup. Blend that in. Till it's nice and smooth, all that flour is worked in. And you can see, now we've got a nice paste, and that's going to go in between the layers of apples. Now, before we begin, we're going to sprinkle.
So hang on, let me get that. Okay.
Good? Okay. All right, so we're going to start by sprinkling a little cinnamon over the top of our apples. And just a little bit of nutmeg. Nutmeg is one of those magical ingredients that up until recently I didn't fully understand what it could really do for a dish. Not just desserts. It can be used in pheasants. I've seen it used in soups and stews. It adds a wonderful spicy element to several different dishes. All right, we've got our apples there. We're going to add our paste. We're just going to spread that around. Doesn't have to be real dainty. We're just going to get it in there. It's going to do the work for us as it melts and spreads itself out with the apples. Like so. Now you're probably thinking, that dish looks half empty. But we're going to fill that with some more apples and just the rest of our paste. And that's going to go on top of here. And I have some apples already prepared. And I'm just going to layer those over that. And then we'll throw the top onto the pie crust and put it in to bake. This is going to bake at about 350 degrees for about 45 minutes, maybe 50. And then we'll take that out and prepare the rest of our peach tart. Those crusts should be cool and ready to work with. And are going to be delicious. All right. Got the rest of our walnut paste. We're just going to spread that out over the apples. Throw our top on, and we're going to be ready. Now, of course, we're going to add just a little bit more cinnamon and nutmeg. Alright, we've got some little bit everywhere. There we go. And some nutmeg. We're going to let that set a moment before we put our top in and put that into the oven. We'll stop a minute. Well, here we've got our top on our pipe. We're going to just create a couple vents, score that top gently to let the steam out. And pop that right into the oven.